Everybody, how are you? It's Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman from the Jewish Executive Learning Network and BregmanSuccess.com. You always have that as your little intro. It's Thursday. Let's learn up some Torah, some good, interesting Torah ideas on this week's Torah portion. This week's parsha is called Chayei Sarah. We're still in the book of Genesis, and let's learn up some Chayei Sarah. So I'll share with you some good stuff from Short and Sweet on the parsha. If you'd like to order a copy, you can go to Amazon.com, but I saw last night they only have one copy left. Or you can reach out to me directly, director@jeln.org. We'll take care of you. But meanwhile, let's learn up some Torah on this week's parsha. I want to speak to you about time, wasting time, and that's one of the themes that you see repeating many times in this week's parsha. I speak about this in the book on page 45. The verse starts out in this week's Torah portion. It says, Sarah's lifetime, Abraham's wife, Sarah's lifetime, was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, the years of Sarah's life. Okay, so chapter 23, verse 1. Sarah's lifetime was 100 years, 20 years, 7 years, the years of Sarah's life. Okay, good. So now there's a nice Midrash in Bereshis Rabbah that says that Rabbi Akiva, let me get comfortable here. Rabbi Akiva, the famous rabbi from the Talmud, he was teaching Torah, and the Midrash says that the community, the tzibur, the people learning with him, they got tired. So he wanted to wake them up and spark their interest a little bit, what I try to do, hopefully here with you. So what did he do? He said to them, he wanted to say something to wake them up. He said, you should know that Queen Esther, from the Purim story, who lived a way, way, way long time after Sarah, about 1,500 years after Sarah, Queen Esther lived. He said, Sarah, how was it that Queen Esther, not Sarah, how was it that Queen Esther merited to rule over 127 provinces in the time of the Purim story? She says it was because of the 127 years that Sarah lived, the 127 years of her lifetime. And that was his statement, a little bit enigmatic, designed to wake people up. Queen Esther, she ruled over 127 provinces. It's because Sarah lived 127 years. So all of the commentaries say, well, that's very nice, but what did Rabbi Akiva mean? And why was this specifically chosen as the way to wake up the people? So the Chedushei Harim, the first Ger Rebbe, and others, they explain to me very nice. They say that the answer revolves around the concept of a person using their time wisely. And this is what I write, that the years of Sarah's life were so well used that their influence, their hashpah, we say in Hebrew, was able to assist Sarah's descendant, Esther, many dairis, many generations later in time. In other words, what happened? Esther was merited to rule over a province for each year of Sarah's life. That means that each month gave Queen Esther another city. Every week that Sarah used her life properly, that gave her Esther another village. And like each day was like another little neighborhood in these 127 provinces. So each moment of Sarah's life used properly ended up becoming a merit that led to something tangible, a block, a street, a corner, something like that for her descendants. So that's a connection. So what was Rabbi Akiva telling the people? He's like, we'd say in Yiddish, shlufnish, don't sleep, wake up. Stop wasting your time. I'm giving you a Torah class and you're half asleep. Don't you see what you're flushing down the drain with every single moment that you're not paying attention to what I'm telling you over? Okay? So that's one place you see from this week's parsha. From the Midrash that goes on the beginning of the years of Sarah's life, you see that the theme, number one, for starters, is using your time properly, maximizing it, not flushing it down the drain. You see it a little bit from there. That's one place. And then I'll tell you a little bit more. See it a little further. Who was Sarah married to? Avraham Avinu, Abraham, right? So you can imagine, and they're home, and you're going to see there was no time wasting going on. They were very productive and producing and maximizing their time. The verse says in our parsha, chapter 24, verse 1, it says, now Avraham was old. He came with days. He came with days is ba bayamim. He came with days. So I write over here on page 48 in this week's Torah portion, what does it mean that Avraham came with days? Avraham came with days, meaning he got old, so he came with days. What did he do? He brought an old stack of Jewish calendars from previous years. He brought him. He came with days. He called Yishmael, hey, Yishmael, back up the truck. Bring out my suitcases full of my old time. What does that mean? So the Zohar, the book of Kabbalah, in Torah portion Vayechi, says something interesting. It says that when a person leaves this world, when they pass away and their neshama, their soul, goes up to Shemayim in heaven, it's not really the case, as you might imagine, that in heaven, in Shemayim, what's going on up there, it's a bunch of like souls, like naked souls kind of floating around. It says in the Zohar, in Parshas Vayechi, that the souls of people, when they go up there, are actually clothed in a certain way. And what is the clothing? Since it's not a physical world, what would a soul wear upstairs in heaven? And does it match? Is it kind of black and white? Like, what does it look like? Okay, color clothing aside. So it says in the Zohar that the clothing for the souls in Shemayim, in heaven, is actually the time that a person used properly in this world. It's like the clothing of the soul is the time used properly. So if you had used your time right and all of it and maximized it, your neshama has certain kind of nice clothes. But if not, I don't know what it has. It's missing something up there in the spiritual realms. That's kind of cool. Number one. Number two, you should know that it says the Zohar, this is what it means when it says in the Garden of Eden, in Gan Eden, that Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava, were naked and they had no clothes. What does it mean they had no clothes? Yes, they were physically undressed, but it also means that God gave them one day at a time. The first day that they were created, and they already messed it up. They already wasted their first day that God gave them in sin. And so therefore, they had no begadim. They had no garments in a spiritual sense. And therefore, God had to give them new begadim, and that's what he did. The verse says that God made them new garments. Okay? Makes sense. Just like in Gan Eden, in the spiritual Garden of Eden upstairs, the souls are clothed in time used properly. In the Garden of Eden down here, pretty cool Zohar, that's what was going on down there as well. So what does it mean? So bring it full circle, because I could meander, but I always come back. What does it mean that Avraham, Baba Yomim, Avraham, he was old and he came with days, says the Zohar, with my thumb, says the Zohar, what it means is that, yeah, Avraham, he had reached an elderly age, but he came with days, meaning that he had used all the time in his life up to then properly for spirituality, for growth, for helping people, for spreading the divine agenda, for sanctifying God's name in this world, and he had used his time correctly, and he had used reaching his old age all that previous time beautifully and correctly. So it's kind of neat Devar Torah, right? Esther is using her time. Why? She used her time. She merited something very beautiful from it because Sarah had used her time correctly. Sarah was doing it, and so was her husband, Avraham. Pretty neat stuff, okay? Bottom line, couple takeaways I just want to give you before we run, because I love to try to leverage Jewish wisdom and ideas to help you be happy and successful, and that's a very big part of what my mission and purpose is, to add to your life by leveraging Jewish wisdom and Torah sources I know, coupled with everything else that I could throw at you. So a couple ideas that I have here, very quick, I just typed up. I want to share with you 3 quick takeaways. Number one, okay, we get from the Devar Torah's time is important, and we should probably save time, right? Okay, so let's be clear. There is no such thing as saving time. You cannot save your time. People say, oh, I'm going to go to that store and shop because they have 2 things there that I want, and so that way I don't have to go to 2 stores. Well, you can't really save time. You can't save time. You can't put it in a bottle. You can't bring out a little extra time whenever you need to finish a product. There's no such thing as saving time, okay? What people mean by saving time is I'm going to complete tasks faster, but still time is passing. So time is leaving. So you know time is moving either way. So what I always tell people who ask me is you can't really save time, but you can manage time. You could own your time, and you could spend it more wisely. Every single person has the same number of minutes, in theory, allocated in the day, as long as you don't sleep it all away, right? And so you can accomplish more with your time, but you can't save time, you can accomplish more. Myself, I try to accomplish more and own my time and spend it wisely and manage it by doing a couple things. Number one, I always try to focus on the biggest, juiciest goals that I can in my life. All of us have to get better at saying no to people. We have to get better at saying no. Well, it's very easy to say yes, but you got to learn how to say no, because you have to manage the biggest, juiciest targets. Because if you just do whatever comes your way all day, and they're not necessarily strategic things, but you're just doing whatever keeps you busy, you're going to find that you run out of time and you weren't able to move the yardage along in your life where you wanted to move it. Another thing is, and this is something I do, I have to manage my availability. Well, whether you're on the internet or not, you're always going to find that there's more people who want things from you than you're able to service. You have to learn to manage your availability, and I would suggest to you that the primary way of doing so is learning to say no. No could be no, or it could be not yet. But you cannot be all things to all people and do everything at once. You got to learn to say no. Might not feel comfortable, especially if you're a sweet person, but it's a muscle you have to build up if you want to maximize your time. Third thing I would tell you is you have to begin to become very judicious in paying attention to how you use your time. You cannot imagine how many wasteful things that the average person does in a day. I don't even understand it. Like, it's a Monday and I will be working and I'll get a message on my computer that somebody I never met before wants to play a game called Candy Crush with me, or some game they offered to play with me online called Water Splash the other day. I mean, are we kidding? Are you for real? You can't even imagine the look that I'm giving that person, even if I never met him before, via my computer. When that comes through, I'm like, are you serious? It's Monday, midday, and you're playing games? You're throwing away, to some degree, your eternity. I understand there's time for leisure, but come on now. Monday, midday, that's what you're doing? Own your time, manage it, pay attention to how it is going, because life goes fast. I can't believe I'm 38. I remember being 20. I remember being 30. I'm still putting together, how does that happen? The only people who have enough time or feel they have enough time, I often say, are those that are doing time, serving time, in prison, behind bars. They feel they have enough time, but for everybody else, we have to maximize it for our success in this world and definitely the next. This is Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman of the Jewish Executive Learning Network. If you'd like to get a copy of Short and Sweet on the Parsha, upon which this Torah was based, reach out to me directly. You know how to do it. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Click the little red button somewhere around here so you can keep learning with me and have a great Shabbos. Share this Torah with other people. Have a good day. Bye.